Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a new piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading The Months After. It is October, and I'm eating spaghetti. Mum always said it looked like hair. We would cook it together, and she would tell me to dye and decorate it with sauce and vegetables. When we would eat together, she would tell me I was now a hairdresser, and I would giggle and scoff down my food joyously. Now, I sit here alone, eating plain spaghetti, wondering what happened. The poor person hidden in my bowl can't afford a proper cut and colour. All she gets is a slice of butter and a prayer for better times. I wrap another strand round my fork and wonder why everything must happen at once. It is November, and I am eating broccoli. Tiny trees in the hands of a giant. That's what we used to joke about back in the day. I would grab them in fistfuls from the plate, and she, not perturbed like the other mothers on our street, would tell me that I was tearing up the forest. It felt good to be a giant back then. I was so tiny. I couldn't exert control over anything, but feeling like I was powerful enough to rip out and devour a tiny biome on my plate, that was something strangely joyful. Now I eat some sad and wilted broccoli in utter silence. What is going on with me? It is December, and I am eating cake. I used the same recipe they always did, the one with extra brandy and marzipan. I remember back then I used to enjoy it almost more than the presents. Was it wrong to give a child alcohol, even if it was indirectly? Now I'm not so sure. It probably burnt off with the cooking, didn't it? Either way, each bite tastes sweet and nostalgic, like a small slice of every Christmas which had come before. But this time, I'm making it for myself, and this time, there is nobody to share it with. Finally, I could have the whole cake. My 9-year-old self would have been overjoyed. I laugh a little to myself as a single tear slides down one cheek. It is January, and I am folding clothes, fresh out the dryer, and they smell like a moment of solitude. I'm doing it just the way Dad always did, end to end, then side to side, everything in perfect quarters to be placed in the cupboard. It's an unnecessary ritual that still brings me comfort. Nobody needs perfectly folded underwear, least of all me. It'd be much easier to shove them into the back of a drawer, all scrunched up and messy like I used to. But Dad used to fold them for me before, and now I do it for myself. It's my way of saying that I still care about myself just like he once did. This is February, and I am washing dishes. Times are a little better now. I got a steady job at last, which means only one thing. I can finally afford the fancy washing up liquid. The one which smells like apples and which smells nothing like an apple. The one that has been a stable and consistent scent throughout my whole life. The one I would sneak out in tiny tubs to blow bubbles with in the garden, because I knew that Mum and Dad would want me to use the cheap stuff instead, and I also knew that this made better bubbles somehow. Now the bubbles are only suds. Nobody is left to be upset if I blow the liquid into a giant bubble in the backyard. But I don't want to. But I still smell it, and remember all those old summers before. It is March, and I am laying in bed. I don't want to get up. Not now. Not yet. I wish that somebody would come to pull back the curtains and tell me that I need to get up to do this or that, but Nobody is coming for that. I slowly roll the duvet back and try to think about all the things that need doing today. Back then there was always a list and a tiny reward at the end of the day if it was all done. There is still a list now, but the only reward is a functional life. I suppose that's enough. But I wonder if I might still bake fairy cakes and feel a sense of accomplishment. It is April, and I am doing nothing. And I am doing nothing. And I am doing nothing. What's the use of it all, anyway? It is May, and I am picking flowers to take with me when I go to visit them. It's the first time for 8 months now. I wonder if they are looking at me angrily from somewhere. I apologize silently in my head, tell them that I simply couldn't face it. I wonder if I should bring a bottle of wine. Mum always hated guests coming empty-handed. I think that I should buy that car magazine that Dad used to like on the way over. He did love a spontaneous little gift like that. And then I think about how I would look, turning up with flowers, a bottle of wine and a car magazine in hand, and what the other mourners would probably think. And I laugh. And I think that somewhere out there, they are laughing too. It is June, and I am eating spaghetti. She has beautiful hair, bright red and full of mushrooms. She loves a man who lives in the broccoli forest. And they were happy together with their child for a time. I finish my bowl. I remember them. And then I move on, finally, for a moment. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook, or check out the website at under1000pod.com. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, Nictate, and thesharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me again next time for some more super short fiction.